The Council of Galactic Powers laughed. The audacity of Earth, one insignificant speck in the galaxy, had crossed the line. Humanity had only recently discovered faster-than-light travel, and while their technological advancements were notable, they were still nowhere near the level of the galaxy's most powerful empires. The humans, in their bravado, believed they could contribute to the war that was consuming the galaxy. But the galaxy's elite had other plans. "Let them stay in their solar system," said the Zorith ambassador, his voice rich with condescension. "Their primitive ships and armies will only distract us. The Nalar will be defeated without their help." A murmur of agreement passed through the council chambers. The alien representatives, massive, multi-limbed beings from the Balaris cluster, sleek Hour-T diplomats from the Silk Nebula, and stoic Etherians from the Rim, nodded their assent. All eyes turned to the human representative, Commander Rachel Kendrick, whose sharp gaze and unwavering posture betrayed nothing of the storm swirling inside her. "We may not be as technologically advanced, but we fight differently," Commander Kendrick said, her voice cold. "We fight with everything we have." The room fell silent, but the silence was not one of respect. It was one of amusement. Earth had been dismissed, just as they had been dismissed by the Nalar when they first arrived at their doorstep. The galactic powers continued their deliberations on strategy, deciding to leave Earth's forces out of the coming battles. They had their hands full with the Nalar, a race known for its savagery, and the galactic leaders refused to be distracted by a so-called rebellious species. The attack came without warning. Less than 24 hours after Earth's fleet was sidelined, the Nalar's advanced warships, the dreadnoughts, slipped through the galaxy's defenses like shadows. With brutal efficiency, they obliterated the Hellion Confederacy's capital system in a flash of energy. The Confederacy had been a long-standing ally of the Council, one of the few remaining empires left that could challenge the Nalar in battle. The galaxy's leaders, who had been so sure of their superiority, watched in stunned silence as Nalar warships rained destruction upon one of the most fortified systems in the galaxy. The Hellion fleets, though powerful, were no match for the overwhelming strength of the Nalar. The same force that had laid waste to the Hellion Confederacy now set its sights on more vulnerable targets, including Earth. On Earth, the alarm bells rang before the message even reached Commander Kendrick. The humans had expected retaliation, but not so soon. Not this brutal. "We've underestimated them." General Harlan's voice crackled through the comm link. "They've begun their assault on the colonies. The Council, they don't know how to stop them." "Does it matter?" Kendrick asked. Her eyes narrowed. "We're on our own." Again, she turned to the screen in front of her, where a map of the galaxy appeared, blinking red with the locations of the destroyed systems. Her heart skipped. Earth was next. The Nalar's fleet was making its way toward the Sol system, and the galaxy's self-assured leaders were too late to act. "We won't wait for permission," Kendrick said, her voice steady and resolute. "The time for waiting is over." In the war room beneath the surface of Earth's moon, the command center buzzed with activity. The human fleet, though smaller than many of the galaxy's military powers, was preparing for something the Council hadn't seen coming. Humanity was no longer a passive participant. It was a fighter, a force that refused to remain in the shadows. "What are we looking at, Captain?" Kendrick's voice was sharp, cutting through the static. Captain Elias Zhang, her trusted second-in-command, turned to face her. "The Nala fleet is on course for Earth, ma'am. But we have an advantage. They're underestimating us. We've been building new technologies, modular warships, enhanced shields, AI-driven weaponry that they won't expect." Kendrick nodded slowly. "We won't be treated as an afterthought anymore. It's time they realize that humanity's fight for survival is as real as theirs." The room fell into a tense silence as the human fleet, newly equipped and eager for battle, prepared to take off. For years, Earth had been dismissed, its warriors viewed as relics of a bygone age. But now humanity was about to show the galaxy exactly why it had never been wise to ignore them. As Kendrick boarded her flagship, the Venator, she looked out at the fleet assembled in the dark expanse of space. The galaxy's elites had underestimated Earth, and now humanity would show them just how costly that mistake would be. The Nala would learn, far too late, that they had awoken a sleeping giant. And as the first strike was launched, the galaxy would tremble. The first shots were fired, and the galaxy's arrogance began to bleed. Earth's fleet, armed with the latest experimental technology and fighting with a fury born of years of neglect, slammed into the Nala warships with an intensity the invaders had never expected. The Nala had expected to crush humanity beneath their heel, but the humans were no longer the helpless species they once were. Their ships moved with precision, their tactics unpredictable, and their resolve unshakable. The initial skirmishes were brutal. A handful of human warships faced a full Nala armada, yet they fought like predators backed into a corner. Earth's new Bastion-class destroyers tore into the Nala's lighter vessels, while the newly designed Vanguard cruisers delivered punishing blows to the enemy flagship Erebus, stunning the Nala leadership. "Commander Kendrick, we're holding them off." Captain Zhang's voice crackled through the comms. "Their ships are disorganized. It's working." Kendrick, standing on the bridge of her flagship, the Venator, watched the tactical readout with narrowed eyes. The Nala fleet had been staggered by the unexpected resistance. They had expected the humans to fold, to panic at the sight of superior firepower. Instead, the humans fought with a relentless strategy that mirrored their unpredictable nature. But it wasn't just Earth's ships that gave them an advantage. It was their people. Humanity's greatest weapon had always been its ability to adapt, to innovate under pressure. While the Nala relied on brute strength and superior numbers, the humans had made do with resourcefulness. The Venator's AI-guided targeting system was faster than any Nala warship could calculate. The Vanguard cruiser shields held longer than any enemy anticipated, allowing for devastating counterattacks. As Earth's ships carved through the Nala defenses, something unexpected happened. The Nala began to retreat. The galaxy's so-called primitive race had caused them to reconsider their approach. But Kendrick knew the battle wasn't over. "We're being pursued," Zhang warned. "The Nala are regrouping. They won't let this go unanswered." Kendrick turned to face him, her jaw clenched. "No, they won't. We've just given them a reason to hate us." The Nala's retaliation came swiftly. Within hours, Earth's initial victories were overshadowed by the Nala's ability to adapt. Their larger fleets, those holding far more advanced technology, launched an attack that caught humanity's forces off guard. The Venator and Vanguard were overwhelmed, with two-thirds of Earth's fleet either severely damaged or destroyed. The remaining ships limped back to Earth, battered but not beaten. Back on Earth's surface, in the command center beneath the moon's surface, the mood had shifted from optimism to tension. Kendrick watched the feed of the scattered remains of the fleet, her face hardening. "We've lost more than we gained," General Harlan muttered from his station. But Kendrick shook her head. "This fight isn't over yet." In the wake of their initial victories, humanity's warriors had shown something the galaxy's elite hadn't anticipated: a drive to survive, to retaliate, and to evolve with every loss. Earth's fight against the Nala wasn't just a battle for the survival of one planet. It was a statement to the galaxy that humanity could no longer be underestimated. The Council's decision to exclude Earth had been the spark. The fire had already begun. Kendrick stood tall, her gaze focused on the stars outside the window. "We've shown them we can fight," she said, her voice low but fierce. "Now, we show them we're not going anywhere." The fight had only just begun, and this time Earth wouldn't be ignored. The galaxy had been blind for centuries, and now the truth would cost them everything. Humanity's victory in the opening skirmishes against the Nala had rattled the galaxy's political establishment, but it was the discovery made by Earth's most elite operatives that truly sent shockwaves through the cosmos. The Nala's savage attack on the Hellion Confederacy had been nothing more than the latest act in a long orchestrated campaign, a campaign that had manipulated the very fabric of galactic politics. It started when Earth's Intelligence Division intercepted a cryptic signal from a long-abandoned research facility in the fringe, deep within Nala-controlled space. The message, pieced together by human analysts, revealed a staggering truth. The Nala weren't simply conquerors. They were puppet masters. For centuries, they had been subtly destabilizing civilizations across the galaxy, carefully positioning themselves as the sole power capable of maintaining order. The revelation was more than just a military intelligence breakthrough. It was a political bombshell. The Nala have been playing the long game, Kendrick said, her voice cold as she addressed the council of human military leaders in the war room. They've been systematically undermining the Galactic Council. Earth was their next target. General Harlan, his brow furrowed in disbelief, leaned forward. They've been manipulating the Council, positioning themselves as the necessary peacekeepers. And when they were ready, they would sweep in and take control. The pieces of the puzzle fell into place quickly. The Nalar hadn't just attacked the Hellion Confederacy. They had set the stage for their downfall. And Earth, with its rising influence and growing military strength, had become the next obstacle in their path. But the truth was even darker. Earth wasn't just a target of an Nalar. It had been kept weak for a reason. For years, galactic leaders, whether intentionally or not, had kept Earth isolated, feeding them scraps of technology and ensuring they never advanced too quickly. The Council had seen Earth's potential as a threat long before the Nalar did. The Nalar had simply taken advantage of the Council's oversight. They knew we'd be strong, Kendrick continued, the weight of the words hanging heavy in the air. And they made sure we stayed weak. It was clear now. Humanity's supposed primitive nature wasn't a flaw. It was a carefully constructed narrative, one that kept Earth on the sidelines while the galaxy's true powers consolidated their control. We're not just fighting for survival, Kendrick said, her tone growing more resolute. We're fighting for control of the galaxy, and we can't trust anyone anymore. The galaxy's complacency had allowed the Nalar to manipulate the balance of power. Now, with the truth exposed, Earth had become more than just a player in the war. Humanity had become a wild card, a force that could upend the carefully constructed order that had kept the galaxy in a state of constant tension for centuries. But the revelation came at a cost. As Earth's forces moved to take advantage of their newfound knowledge, their actions triggered a series of betrayals that would shake the foundations of galactic diplomacy. Once allies, now enemies, began to turn on one another. The Council was fracturing, unable to keep the peace between the various factions that had once been united under the same banner. As Kendrick stared at the display screen showing the fractured state of the galaxy, she knew the battle for Earth was no longer just about defeating the Nalar. It was about confronting a much larger truth. The galaxy's power structures were broken, and the old alliances would never hold again. "Prepare the fleet," Kendrick ordered, her voice steely. "We've taken the first step, but now we fight for everything." The Nalar had underestimated Earth's resolve. And now, the galaxy would learn just how far humanity would go to reclaim its future. Humanity's darkest secrets were about to become its greatest weapon. Deep within a forgotten research facility on Earth's moon, an ancient alien race stirred to life, one that had been locked away for millennia. The Nalar had been ruthless in their conquest of space, but they had never known the true potential of humanity's hidden reserves. Earth's most covert military operation had uncovered an artifact older than the galaxy's known civilizations, a weapon, a race of genetically engineered warriors, and the last piece of a puzzle in humanity's struggle for survival. The warriors were unlike anything Earth had ever encountered. Towering and armored, their bodies were a fusion of organic muscle and alien technology, designed for one purpose: destruction. Created by an ancient civilization, the same civilization that had long before been wiped out by the Nalar, these beings had the strength to level entire cities and the tactical intelligence to bring down even the most formidable forces. But there was a catch. They were dormant, frozen in time, their memories erased, and their loyalty untested. Commander Kendrick stood at the facility's entrance, staring at the darkened chamber where the first of these warriors was slowly being revived. The operation was classified, but she had authorized it. There was no time to waste. The galaxy had underestimated humanity's ingenuity, and now they would pay the price. "Status report," Kendrick demanded, her voice sharp. Dr. Elias Thompson, the chief scientist leading the revival, glanced nervously at the large containment chamber. We've completed the preliminary reactivation sequence. The first warrior is awakening now. But I'm not sure how it will respond. We've only just begun to understand the genetic code embedded in their DNA. They were designed to be loyal to their creators, but there's no telling if that will extend to us. Kendrick narrowed her eyes, watching the dormant figure stir. We don't have the luxury of uncertainty. Make it work. The warrior's eyes snapped open, glowing with an eerie light. For a moment, it stood perfectly still, scanning its surroundings as though reacquainting itself with the world. Then, without a word, it turned to face Kendrick. The human commander held her breath, waiting for a sign, any sign, that the ancient being would obey. And then, to her relief, it kneeled. I am Seraphis of the Velothian Legion. The warrior's deep voice rumbled, breaking the silence. You are the one who has awakened us. How may I serve? Kendrick stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. You serve humanity now. Help us defeat the Naller and reclaim our galaxy. Seraphis' eyes flashed with recognition. The Naller, it repeated, a hint of ancient fury lacing its words. We remember them. We fought them once. We will fight them again. Kendrick's pulse quickened. This was it. This was the weapon that could turn the tide. We have an army of your kind ready to be revived, Kendrick said. But I need to know something. Can you trust us? For a moment, Seraphis' gaze softened, as though weighing the answer. Then it stood and raised a massive hand to its chest. We are warriors bound by honor. We fight with strength, but we also fight with trust. If you fight with us, we will fight with you. Kendrick nodded. It was enough. As Seraphis joined Earth's forces, the ancient warrior quickly adapted to the human way of fighting. It was clear the Naller had never faced anything like this. The Velothian Legion, once the scourge of the Naller, had been dormant for too long. But now, under human command, they unleashed a storm of destruction that tore through Naller lines. Reports flooded in from across the galaxy. The Naller, who had thought Earth was a mere nuisance, now found themselves outmatched by an army they could not comprehend. The Velothian warriors fought with an elegance and savagery that made them unstoppable. But the Naller were not without their own tactics. As the first Velothian Legion swept through Naller-controlled systems, the invaders resorted to darker methods. Spies, sabotage, and political maneuvering now aimed to divide Earth's forces. But Kendrick knew that with Seraphis and his warriors at her side, she could hold the line. Prepare for the next phase, Kendrick ordered. We have them on the ropes. It's time to push forward. As the galaxy trembled beneath the fury of Earth's newly forged alliance, one thing became clear. Humanity's power was not just in its people, but in the forgotten warriors that had risen from the past. And the Naller would soon learn that they had awakened a sleeping giant. The Naller had underestimated humanity before. This time, that mistake would cost them everything. The galaxy's balance was teetering on the edge of collapse. Earth's forces, now bolstered by the ancient Velothian warriors, had dealt blow after blow to the Naller, driving them back to their core territories. Yet the alien invaders refused to retreat fully. Their vengeance was swift, and their tactics brutal. They had no intention of losing control, not now, not ever. Commander Kendrick stood in the war room, staring at the holographic map that illuminated the dimly lit room. Earth's fleet, once a handful of desperate ships, now numbered in the hundreds, each one a testament to human ingenuity. But even with the Velothians' overwhelming strength, it wasn't enough. The Naller's response was escalating by the hour. More warships, more advanced weapons, and increasingly sophisticated countermeasures. We've pushed them to the edge, but they won't give up, General Harlan said, his voice thick with urgency. We need to hit them harder, faster, or we risk losing it all. Kendrick's fingers drummed on the table, her mind racing. The Naller's sheer numbers had always been their greatest advantage. But now it was their desperation that made them dangerous. The Velothians had turned the tide in numerous battles, but Earth's forces had already bled heavily. Every victory came with a cost. We don't have a luxury of time, Kendrick replied, her voice cool despite the pressure mounting around her. We need a decisive blow, a move they won't be able to recover from. As the battle for the galaxy raged on, Kendrick's mind kept circling back to one question. Could humanity truly secure its place in the galaxy, or would they be crushed by the very power that had once mocked them? Hours later, Earth's fleets moved into position, preparing for the final assault. The Nalar fleet had fortified their last stronghold, an ancient war station known as Kalar, located on the fringes of the Nalar Empire. The station was the key to the Nalars' remaining strength, the heart of their military command, their most heavily protected asset. Kendrick knew the risk. Kalar was heavily fortified, surrounded by layers of defense and countless enemy ships. But it was the perfect target. Strike Kalar, and the Nalar would lose their command center. Without it, their forces would splinter, leaving them vulnerable to total destruction. The human fleet, alongside the Velothians, moved swiftly through enemy territory, taking calculated hits to weaken the Nalars' front lines. The distance between them and Kalar shrank rapidly, and for the first time, Kendrick felt the weight of the upcoming battle settle upon her. The fate of the galaxy rested on their success. All ships, prepare for the final push, Kendrick ordered, her voice resolute. The final assault on Kalar was a brutal display of human resolve. Waves of Nalar warships collided with Earth's forces in a cataclysmic clash of energy blasts and explosions. Despite the overwhelming firepower of the Nalar fleet, the humans and their Velothian allies pressed forward with relentless determination. Seraphis, the Velothian leader, cut through the chaos like a force of nature, his blade tearing through Nalar ships as if they were paper. The warriors moved with precision, each strike echoing the ancient battles they had once fought. But as Earth's forces closed in on Kalar, the Nalar revealed their final defense, a colossal weapon, a planetary destroying cannon capable of annihilating entire fleets in seconds. "We need to disable that cannon," Kendrick said, her eyes locking onto the massive weapon, "or it's over for all of us." With the Nalar's forces focused on holding the perimeter, Earth's elite special forces and the Velothians launched a daring assault on the station's core. Infiltrating the heavily fortified corridors of Kalar, they fought their way toward the cannon's control room, battling Nalar soldiers every step of the way. The tension was suffocating. Time was running out. In the heart of Kalar, as explosions echoed through the station, Kendrick's voice came through the comms. "Status report." "We're in position," Captain John replied, his voice tense. "But the cannon's firing sequence is already in progress. We've got seconds." Seraphis' voice rumbled in her earpiece. "We will stop it." And with that, the Velothians, unstoppable in their fury, tore into the heart of the station. They reached the cannon's control room just as the countdown reached its final seconds. A burst of energy from Seraphis shattered the weapon's core, triggering a massive explosion that rocked Kalar to its foundations. The Nalar weapon was destroyed, but the explosion triggered a chain reaction that sent shock waves through the station. As the structure began to collapse, Earth's forces made their escape, leaving Kalar in flames. In the aftermath, the galaxy watched in stunned silence. The Nalar, bereft of their command and their most powerful weapon, were in disarray. The final blow had been struck. Humanity had made its stand and won. The war was far from over, but the tide had turned. Earth had proven itself a force to be reckoned with. And now, the galaxy had no choice but to face the undeniable truth. Humanity was here to stay. The galaxy was forever changed in the wake of humanity's victory. The Nalar were broken, their once mighty empire crumbling under the weight of their defeat. Their command center had fallen, their most powerful weapon destroyed, and their military forces scattered. The Velothian warriors, bound by honor to humanity, had delivered the final blow, but it was Earth's sheer will to survive that had tipped the balance. The galaxy, long accustomed to the dominance of alien empires, now found itself facing a new reality. Humanity had arrived, and it was not going anywhere. In the heart of Earth's capital, the Council convened for an unprecedented meeting. Leaders from across the galaxy, once skeptical or outright dismissive of humanity, now sat in awe, trying to comprehend the events that had unfolded. The very planet they had once written off had not only survived the Nallor's onslaught, but had led the charge in toppling their empire. Commander Kendrick stood at the head of the table, her presence commanding the room as she addressed the council. The weight of her words hung heavy, each syllable carrying the force of the changes humanity had wrought. "We have shown you our strength," she began, her voice steady but resolute. "And we have proven that we are no longer a bystander in the galaxy's conflicts. The Nallor are gone, but they were only the beginning. The galaxy will face new threats, new challenges, and Earth will be at the center of it all." The room was silent as her words settled in. Some leaders exchanged wary glances, while others, more pragmatic, nodded in approval. The galaxy, for all its advanced technology and vast resources, had been held together by fragile alliances and power struggles. Now, Earth's rise had shattered that status quo. There was no denying it. Humanity had become a force to be reckoned with. "We must now decide," Kendrick continued, her eyes locking with each member of the council, "whether we stand together, or whether we allow the same mistakes that brought us to the brink of destruction to repeat themselves." The council was divided. Some advocated for humanity to assume control, to rebuild the shattered galaxy under Earth's banner. Others argued for a more cautious approach, believing that the galaxy's old powers should retain their influence, with humanity merely as a key ally. But Kendrick knew that the time for hesitation had passed. The galaxy had already been reshaped by humanity's actions, and the path forward was clear. The old empires, bound by their traditions and politics, had proven their inadequacy. Humanity had shown them what true unity and strength could accomplish. "Earth will not rule alone," Kendrick said firmly, breaking the tension in the room. "But we will lead. We have the strength, the vision, and the resolve to rebuild what was broken. The galaxy will rise from the ashes, and humanity will be at the heart of that rise." The silence that followed was filled with the weight of inevitability. The galaxy's future no longer rested in the hands of the old powers. Humanity had earned its place, and with it came a responsibility greater than any they had known before. As the council session concluded, Kendrick returned to her flagship, Venator. Outside the observation deck, the stars stretched in infinite beauty, a reminder of both the promise and the dangers that lay ahead. The Nallor had been defeated, but the galaxy was vast, and many challenges still remained. "We did it," General Harlan said, joining her by the window. "But this is just the beginning, isn't it?" Kendrick's gaze remained fixed on the stars, her mind already turning toward the future. "It's just the beginning. There are others out there, other species, other threats. We can't let our guard down now." Harlan smiled, though it was tempered with the understanding that their victory had come at great cost. "Then we'll be ready." Kendrick nodded. "We've shown the galaxy what humanity can do. Now we'll show them what we'll become." The rise of Earth was no longer a matter of survival. It was the dawn of a new empire, one built on strength, unity, and the unwavering belief that humanity's place in the galaxy was no longer up for debate. And as the Venator glided into the vast unknown, Kendrick knew the galaxy's greatest challenge had only just begun. But this time, humanity would not face it alone.